Hello, friend.
Remember, when something happens to you that didn't go as planned, the best thing you can do is make sure that it is as harmful and inconvenient as possible. Welcome to Philosophy. My name is Ollie. Obviously, that was a joke. It does not help us at all to allow unfortunate circumstances in our life, unplanned circumstances, to be more inconvenient or harmful for us and prevent us from being happy and productive. And I don't know about you, but I've noticed that this is exactly what we do. A lot of people, it's very, very common. I am so guilty of this. I still do this all the time, very consistently. Um, I'm really prone to this. And maybe we don't always make things completely worst case scenario, but when something happens that we didn't plan, we didn't want to happen, we oftentimes allow the situation to negatively impact us more than it needs to, and for it to be worse than it already was because we feel that it shouldn't have happened. But does this help us at all? Does this serve us? Is there a better way of handling this? I want to share with you some personal things I found when thinking about this. I'm actually really excited to share this stuff. So I really started thinking about this recently when I was talking to a friend of mine. I mentioned that after work, I sometimes have to wait a while for my ride to get here and pick me up, which is fine. I have my laptop. I work at a gym, so I can get my workout in before I go home. That's fine. I don't mind it at all. And he kind of felt like, it was inconvenient for me, like my situation could have been better. And I don't really view it that way. First off, I just want to say that I'm just very grateful I have a job, that I have a ride, and especially that I have a means of occupying my time like this, that I can work out and that I have a laptop, all these things. But anyway, in this particular situation, I view it with a more of a when life gives you lemons, make lemonade mentality. And that's where the title comes from. I bet you're wondering about that. But anyway, I'm sure you've heard that phrase before. And what I mean by that specifically is when I find myself to be in a situation, whether or not I would have chosen that situation for myself, like ideally, I simply acknowledge the reality of the situation and choose to utilize those circumstances to my advantage. I allow them to be a benefit to me. I don't allow the situation to be any more inconvenient than it already is, or that I would have initially thought, or what other people would have said, right? It's easy to think, oh man, that's not what I wanted, and just think, oh, this is going to be bad now. But that's not always the case, and if we look at how maybe this could be used to our advantage, all of a sudden it becomes an opportunity. And basically, you just don't want to accept that the situation is really that unfortunate. And again, I want to reiterate, I do not apply this to every area of my life. It would probably help me if I did it a lot more. That's why I'm trying to communicate this. Work was just one example, and it's a pretty small example. Waiting an hour to be picked up is not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. But that's one area where I do apply it. I do think in that mindset, and it really does help me. I really wish I applied it more in other areas, and I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to communicate that with this video. But anyway, another area where this applied was a couple weeks back. I was supposed to be getting an extra 8-hour shift, and it was on a day I don't usually work. So an 8-hour shift to fill in for somebody. They were on vacation. So the day before, all of a sudden my schedule says it was a 5-hour shift. So that's 3 less hours of pay. And it's also really inconvenient because my stepdad, who's my ride, he takes me to and from work because he works nearby. So he already made his plans for the day, right? He already made his schedule based on the fact that I'd be there for 8 hours. So now either he has to change his plans or I have to wait for 3 hours, right? It was inconvenient. And, it could have been very frustrating. And it was for a little while because I already dedicated that time, right? Like, I don't have to work those hours now, but I already dedicated that time in order to get paid. And now that's changed, and it's frustrating to me that that sort of thing changes without being talked to first. But here's the key. What would serve me more? To get upset and allow that time to be wasted, get frustrated that, that 3 hours of pay I'm not getting, whatever I could think of out of frustration and lose my joy, or to tackle the situation head on, to just look at it and realize, okay, this is where I'm at. This is a situation where I find myself. Let's look at the positive possibilities of this. What can I do, right? I take it upon myself. I make the effort, that now that I'm in the situation, what can I do to make use of this time, right? And positive possibilities, and this whole topic is something I also touched on in last week's video, so if you like what you're hearing this, I recommend you check that one out too. But anyway, it's called Rely on Yourself. But anyway, thing is, I can simply accept the fact that I get out early that day. I can make use of that time. I can find something to do. I can make a new plan to serve me. I would rather just adapt and keep going and have a beneficial opportunity than just let the time be wasted and lose my joy. I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to be unproductive, which will happen if I'm unhappy. I'd rather be happy, right? I can just hold on and think, okay, this is where I'm at. Let's do something about it. Let's make use of this time. Basically, I'm not willing to accept this situation to be as inconvenient as it already has been, as it could be. I would rather this situation be better. I can make it better if I allow it to be. Why would I want the time to be wasted? And why would I allow the situation to be worse than it already was? But that's so common, right? We do that so much. We get so caught up in looking back and thinking that we wish the situation was different in the first place, which, yeah, we can maybe prevent these things in the future, but it already happened. That's not going to help us to focus on what already happened. We should look forward. We should focus on what we can do now that we're in the situation and make a difference now. That we can do. And we can still learn for the future more to hopefully prevent the situation in the first place if it's something that really shouldn't have happened. But anyway, it's all about, what would serve us more. And I think it's a really simple answer when you look at it that way. I think so. And I got really excited about this video because as I was typing up my thoughts for this video, which was just yesterday, I'm filming this on Friday the 8th, and it should release the week after. But anyway, so I was at work, and I was waiting to be picked up, after work, and I was typing my thoughts for this video, and just then my stepdad texted me, and he was like, hey, I'll be there in an hour, and it was already 1:30, and it would take maybe a half hour to get home after he picked me up, so I wouldn't be home till like 3, and I got kind of anxious, and like, oh man, I really wanted to be home sooner. I have to film my video. I ended up doing it on the next day, Friday morning, and but I'd rather be home sooner than later. I don't like cutting it this close, and then I remembered the words I was typing. I realized that now I have an hour to go over my notes for my next video and write up new notes for my video, and that turned out to be this video that you're watching now. I realized that even in a situation that was not at all what I wanted, life gave me lemons. I then made lemonade. I then turned it into a truly beneficial situation. I got this script done for this video, and now I'm able to film it the next day. And I realized that this is a sort of lost art in a way, hence the title. I thought of the lost art of life lemons. That was like the funniest thing, so I had to call it that. But anyway, it really is like, it's just not very common in our culture for something unfortunate to happen. Pretty much everyone I know, their first instinct is to just complain about it and be like, oh man. And maybe they'll eventually turn it around, but I think it serves more to think from that perspective from the get-go, and to really act that way, and to realize that situations are a lot more flexible than we give them credit for a lot of the time. And sometimes unfortunate things do happen and we just have to deal with them. But even in dealing with them, things can still turn out better than we thought. And I think it would serve us all a lot better to have that understanding as we live our lives. And instead, we're much more quick to, get frustrated and essentially jump at the opportunity to be defeated by random circumstance. And that sounds really ridiculous when you view it that way, right? And it is. And I talked about this more in my video, Decide Your Non-Factors, and it's a shorter video. I really like how it turned out. I recommend you look at that one if you're interested in this. And again, I want to reiterate, I fail at this consistently. I'm really bad at this. I do not apply it nearly as often as I should. And if I'm being honest, there's probably only a handful of the videos I've put up on Philosol that I'd say I actually really have down really well. Most of them I struggle with a lot. I'm not as good at them as I would like to be, and that's why it's part of the reason why I'm doing this channel, to encourage myself and others to keep growing. But My job in particular has been a great opportunity to practice this particular lesson. But if I'm being honest, there's still plenty of times where I think, man, I wish I was home by now, and the fact of the matter is what will help me, what will serve me, to focus on what could be because it was my first idea. And of course, your first idea is always your best, right? That's sarcasm, of course. Or to just look at the situation you're in and realize, okay, what can I do? Make that effort, explore that possibility space. Pretty much any life coach type person, Ed Mylett, Tony Robbins, that sort of thing, there's all this advice that tells you that your mental state is really important. You have to watch it very carefully because this becomes habit, and habit becomes lifestyle, and lifestyle becomes the direction of your life. And so that's why it's not going to help me by focusing on, what could have been and what I'm frustrated by rather than what can I do now. And of course, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't care about the situations you're in. You should still try to make sure things go well and everything. You want to live good lives and not cause problems. But when you are in a situation that is kind of out of your control, now just look at what is in your control. Don't focus on what already happened. Focus on what you have now and what you have in the future. If I allowed, that situation of just sitting there for an hour, which really isn't that big a deal, to defeat me and to get frustrated, I wouldn't have had a very productive hour. It was a very productive hour. I wouldn't have made this video, or the notes for the video, rather. I certainly didn't film it in the middle of a gym. But anyway, we have to be responsible for staying happy and staying on top of the situation and not letting the situation stay on top of us, right? We can't let our lives rule us. We have to rule our lives. That's going to help us in achieving whatever lives, whatever goals we want. There's a great quote by Ed Mylett, one of my biggest role models right now. He put it on his Instagram account recently. I'll link it in the description. It said, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes being upset by it. And what that means is, these small things, don't allow them to distract you from really focusing on what you need to focus on and steal your joy. At the end of your life, when you're on your deathbed and you've achieved all the things you want to achieve, are these little things, these inconveniences, did they really pull you away from your dreams, right? Are you going to allow them to, right? Your ultimate goals, your dreams are so much bigger than these minor annoyances, these inconveniences, unless you allow these inconveniences to be bigger than your dreams. And of course, sometimes we do have to deal with big issues, urgent things, life-changing things, daily things. And I'm not discounting that, but you're still not going to help yourself with a defeatist mindset. That's still a principle. By allowing things to be an excuse, I'm not saying you're just making excuses, of course, but to allow these things to be an excuse for your life to not go how you decide your life to go, that's not going to help you. Ultimately, you have to take control if you really want something badly enough. I really hope you got something helpful out of this. I really encourage you to think about how you can apply this to your life and improve your situation, whether it's large scale or small scale. I really hope I don't come across as, just kind of shouting at you from my ivory tower and just saying, oh, well, you can do it, doesn't matter what you're going through. Believe me, I know things are hard. Life is hard. It throws really tough, unfair, bad things at us. And the only reason why I'm sharing this is because I've been through some really dark times where I had no hope, where I really didn't see any way out of it. And I didn't think I could be as happy or passionate as I am today. That's why I'm so passionate about this, about sharing this and encouraging others to try and see things this way and just stick with it and have that hope. My goal is to encourage a culture where we think about these things in a more healthy way, in a more accurate and beneficial way than we have been. I really hope that this video was able to help you see things in a better way. And let's keep spreading this around. Let's encourage a better culture, which will encourage a better world. Best of luck with that, and really thank you for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to hear your advice from your experiences in the comments. We're all growing together, and it's very appreciated. You can click subscribe and then the bell icon to be notified every time I post a video. I post every Friday. Feel free to share Philisol with anyone you think will find it helpful. I want to help as many people as I can. Check out the channel page for lots more videos and other channels that I really enjoy. Until next time, much love.